Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 very simple pork chop recipes. All of these are pretty low effort but still very flavorful, so let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how to make them. First up today, we're going to make these breaded pork chops. To begin, I just have 5 pork chops laying out here on my cutting board, and I'm just sprinkling them lightly with some salt and pepper on both sides. Now moving over here, we have 3 bowls set up. I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of flour into this first one, along with 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And then over here to the far right, we're going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of regular breadcrumbs, along with a 1/4 cup of Panko breadcrumbs, about 3 tablespoons of grated parmesan, a 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper. And then finally into the center bowl, you're going to add in 1 beaten egg, Now we can begin dipping the pork chop, so first you'll bring it over to the flour. Be sure to cover top and bottom and along the sides. Shake off the excess and then move it over to the egg. Again, cover all the sides and front and back, shake off the excess and then move it over into the breadcrumbs. Once it's completely covered, go ahead and add it back over to a plate and continue dipping all of your pork chops. Here's what the pork chops should be looking like once they are all covered. Now moving over here to my cast iron skillet, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of butter along with 1 tablespoon of olive oil or avocado oil, either one is fine. Once that's nice and hot, go ahead and add in your pork chops, and you're going to let these cook on one side for about 3 to 4 minutes, just depending on the thickness. You want them to get this beautiful brown color. At that point, you can go ahead and flip them over, and then you're going to transfer these into a 375-degree oven for about 5 to 7 minutes until they reach 145 degrees. If you're using thicker pork chops, you may have to let that cook just a little bit longer, but this is what they should be looking like when they're all done. Here is what they were looking like on my plate. I did go ahead and serve these with a dish I made a while back. It's a Parmesan, broccoli, and potato. I will have that link down below for you in the description box. These pork chops turn out delicious. They are crispy, but not dry in the center, and they also have some really good flavor. Next up, we're making a 3-ingredient Italian brown sugar pork chop. First, you'll need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. And then to begin, I have 5 pork chops right here. I'm also going to grab a bowl and add about a 1/2 cup of brown sugar in there. Into the brown sugar, you'll need to add a 1/2 packet of Italian seasoning mix, and then you'll just give that a really good mix together. Now you can start taking the pork chops and covering them in the brown sugar mixture. You may need to use your fork to really pat that into the pork chop, but you'll just go ahead and repeat that with all 5 of the pork chops. Now that those are all covered, I grabbed a 9x9 casserole dish, sprayed the bottom with some nonstick spray, and now just add all those pork chops into the bottom. I like to take the remaining brown sugar and Italian seasoning and cover the tops because a lot of this does cook off of the pork chop. My pork chops were a little bit thinner, so they did cook about 10 to 12 minutes. If yours are thicker, you may have to add a couple minutes on there. But this is what they should be looking like when they come out of the oven. Here's what they look like on my plate, and then to go with this, I made some roasted potatoes, zucchini, and carrots in the oven. I like to keep the sides for this pretty easy and pretty healthy since the pork chops themselves are covered in sugar. Just a little tip for you, if you do decide to make this, I would wash your pan immediately because that sugar will harden in your casserole dish and then it'll be really hard to clean up. And last but not least, we're going to make a smothered pork chop recipe in the crock pot. To begin, I'm just adding in 1 can of cream of chicken soup, 1 can of chicken broth, 1 packet of pork gravy mix, 1 packet of onion soup mix, and then give this a really good mix together. Last but not least, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and a couple shakes of black pepper. Now you can add in 5 to 6 pork chops, but just make sure they are all submerged down in the gravy. Go ahead and add the lid and let this cook on a low heat for about 4.5 hours. Now I do want to go ahead and thicken up this gravy, so I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of cornstarch into about 3 tablespoons of water. Mix that together, pour it into the crock pot, and then give everything one more good mix. Add the lid and let this cook for an additional hour. Here is what my plate looked like when it was all done. I did decide to go ahead and make some mashed potatoes so I could add the gravy on top of those, and I also made some roasted carrots. I made this for our Sunday dinner and it turned out to be perfect. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you did make it all the way to the end, don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below. And I will be seeing you back here on Sunday. Bye!